what's still happening in our society today is not okay. No, no, we cannot continue to behave this way. The world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who stand watch doing nothing, nothing. Our silence is compliance when we're neutral to this violence. No more time here, take our hand, dear, for this justice. So show up to your city halls, flood the banks with raging calls, paint the streets, the parks, the walls. Turn up to the airport, make them flip the deportation. That's our declaration. We are standing with the tribes. Protect each other's lives, decolonize, rehumanize, resensitize, open our eyes, relearn our history. Equality versus equity in all communities. Rise in unity. Humans over profit. Earth is not for sale. Her elements not private. Is this interconnectedness such a mystery? If one man's without water, how can any man be free? This is not okay, this is not okay, this is not okay, this is not okay, this is not okay. I'm taking a stand today.
Shelton is so special to me because Shelton is the first place that I chose to live.
Shelton is what I call my people. We work together to make things happen.
I am a person who grew up in really deep poverty, has moved all over the United States. Shelton has been a place I chose to make my home. Reminds me of where I come from, a very small rural community that really sticks together and takes care of each other, helps each other out, from sharing food to resources to love. Shelton has a different reputation than what we actually are. What I see when I walk around my neighborhood is a really diverse community, a really hopeful community.
Sprouted like the pines. Stand with the earth, no more raping or dirt, drilling a patriarchy and pipelines too. I still believe in humanity. I know we can break through. So what would it look like, this reconciliation? Redress tribal nations, dive deep into our past, recognize our errors, the slavery and terrors, genocide and exploitation of immigrant rights. This privilege that's pouring down from the base this country's blocks spilled on that shows in the color of my skin. Analyze unedited these benefits inherited from pillaging another's freedom.
Muchas personas que viven acá son de Guatemala y soy de Guatemala. Amo a mi gente, amo la cultura cuando vienen de este país. Mi gente trabaja duro, mi gente son personas luchadoras y me encanta que mi gente lucha por su familia, lucha por un buen futuro en este país. Y es muy especial esta comunidad y estoy aquí para apoyarlos.
Community means coming together across differences and being able to really respect and hear everybody's experience. The way that we live in a small town brings us together.
I have only been here 6 years, and I did move from the city, falling in with this great bunch of people and learned that there was this rich history of activism in this town.
When the coronavirus happened, we continued working with students at Sound Learning. While a lot of other people were able to work from home, students were looking for whatever they could find, and many were traveling. Our immigrant students were among the first people to go back to work and to take those risks to be able to find jobs. When I looked into help with electrical bills, for example, one of the programs of one of the local organizations here requires a social security number, not just for the recipient, but for every person in the home. For rental assistance, you already have to be behind on the rent. It was just easier for them to try to scrape by and find a few hours of work somewhere than to try to go through those types of processes. When this project came around, it was really different in that way, and that it was set up to be really easy to access for the people who participated. There wasn't a lot of paperwork that they had to go through, and it was open to anyone regardless of their immigration status.
Virus pandemic has shown a light on inequality around the world. The World Food Program warns the pandemic could lead to a massive spike in global hunger, and a new report predicts more than 100 million people in cities worldwide will likely fall into poverty. The United Nations Labor Agency said Wednesday some 1.6 billion workers in the informal economy, quote, stand in immediate danger of having their livelihoods destroyed, unquote, by the global economic catastrophe triggered by the pandemic.
As soon as COVID hit, I knew that some people were going to have more extreme financial difficulties than other folks. A lot of these families have young children. What's the right way to raise money and figure out ways to give out money with as little barriers as possible.
The relief fund came up when my community realized gotta start building a network to take care of each other. We don't know what this government response is going to look like. We don't know when it's going to happen. So we immediately began to build that solidarity network of people here in Mason County. Taking care of each other, feeding each other, my neighbors and I, is how I have survived this long. The relief fund allows that give and take to continue and grow here in Mason. This is an opportunity to create something beautiful, even in a chaotic world. Every community needs this.
We had one meeting to plan our next Neighbors for Immigrant Rights March. Then everything just halted.
Tonight, I am issuing a stay-home order to fight this virus. This includes a ban on all gatherings and closures of many businesses.
And I got this call. Someone reached out to us and remembers Elevate's artwork from the march, from the banners and the signs that we had. And since we can't do a march this year, there's this grant funding and they want to pay you to make art. Realizing that the funding really was about not only supporting community, but supporting artists and crafters and makers who then support community. So it felt like this blessing to me. Just seems like such a simple thing. And it's the thing I can do. Like I can't donate a bunch of money. I can make a sign and I can make a stencil and I can make more signs. Let's make something that we can reproduce and get out into the community so that people can display those or share those and show support for our immigrant neighbors as we would have done with a march through the streets of Shelton. Let's try and do that in the capacity that we can safely, and we're all staying home and unable to gather.
The grant that came through Leading from Roots was an unexpected thing. We didn't know that was going to be a thing when we were conceiving this project. The fact that we had a $5,000 seed fund to match it, people love matching funds. The whole time I said, I trust my community to show up. I trust my community to share resources. And it happened. We raised $5,000 in a day and a quarter.
At that time, we were working on a fundraiser to be able to deliver food boxes to a little bit over 100 families every 2 weeks. But we knew that our families were needing more than that. When she called me, it was like she light up another light bulb in the darkness that we were living at that time. She explained to me what the project was, and our families and me were going to be able to get those $300 cars. We're able to cover any billing assistance that they were not getting. A lot of families that were not able to access any federal funding that was going on. It was a great way to say that we got you, we are here for you, and we know what you're going through.
Muchas personas ahorita en tiempos del COVID perdieron su trabajo y muchas personas también no saben cómo lidiar con esta pandemia.
Oftentimes when you are in a rural community, you are left out because the big cities get all the funds. Everyone that benefited from this project work as farm workers.
Muchas familias han sido beneficiados con esta ayuda, ya que muchos no pueden calificar para la ayuda del Estado.
We all respond to crises in a different way. The opportunity to do this work gives me a little bit of my power back. It's always a good thing when we build long-lasting systems for support and growth in our communities.
Eso me hace sentir tan bien, feliz también, que sí, estoy apoyando a mi comunidad, más a las personas que son de Guatemala, a otros lugares, que son inmigrantes a los Estados Unidos y tienen esa necesidad.
This specific project, it's a light of hope that tells us that there are others that truly care about our community, that are here welcoming the indigenous community with open arms. We are not alone.
These are refugees. What do you think it takes? Someone's situation, how much despair, how much violence, how much poverty, how much abuse, how much war do you think is there that they have to uproot themselves, travel far to go and try to live somewhere else? What do you think was this breaking point for them? Where I can't survive here. I can't survive in my home where I was born, where all of my relatives, my ancestors, where my roots are. I can't survive here. I have to uproot and try somewhere else. There needs to be respect for that. There needs to be compassion for that.
Quiero compartir mis situaciones. Mi nombre es Santa, soy de Guatemala. Unas personas que son mis paisanos batallaron mucho y como más bien que nosotros tenemos un dialecto que es mam, siempre nos cuesta de mencionar algo en español. Algunos saben hablar bien el español y algunos no pueden hablar. Cuando yo vino aquí siempre no podía hablar muy bien el español, pues puedo hablar. Yo soy madre, tengo 3 niños y apenas nos alcanzaba para, incluso en esos tiempos cuando vino la coronavirus, sí estábamos trabajando, pero lamentablemente se vino para abajo toda la compañía y todo eso. En marzo ya queríamos trabajar más, pero ya la compañía mencionó que ya no más trabajo. Entonces estábamos pensando de juntar dinero en abril y mayo. Pero ya este momento pasó en marzo tan rápido y ya no teníamos cómo salir adelante. En marzo, abril y mayo se complicaron muchas cosas. No sé qué hacer. Pues entonces yo con mi esposo estábamos desesperados por pagar la renta, por pagar los biles y otras cositas en la casa. Mi esposo andaba aquí por Tacoma, así buscando trabajo, pero nada encontró lo que le dijeron porque todos habían cerrado. Y a veces iban a un banco de comida, nos ayudaron, aunque no mucho, pero sí, con cajita de huevos o algo. Yo en mi parte casi no mucho cociné en la cocina. Lo que hicimos con mi esposo es que íbamos en la montaña a cortar así maderas y hacía fuego enfrente de la casa para cocinar, para no gastar más electricidad. Y como siempre en mi país, cocinábamos con leña también. Entonces, pudimos hacer eso aquí también porque para no agarrar mucho bill de la luz. Y sí, todavía tengo mis ollas, mis cosas que me sirvieron, todavía los tengo en la casa. Todo lleno de cisne. Pues yo soy la primera que recibí esa tarjetita. Para mí fue un alivio. Esa tarjeta tenía dinero y teníamos un carro y le damos gas y nos sirvió otro poquito para lo que más me gustó es la comida y el jabón para lavar la ropa. Aunque no fue mucho, pero para mí fue un milagro porque nunca esperaba quien me pudiera ayudar. Yo agradezco mucho eso a la comunidad de Shelter. Creo que ellos son los que ayudaron a esas otras personas que con esa situación por culpa de la coronavirus.
$300 is not a lot of money in the scheme of the world, but it means the world to a family who's experiencing food insecurity. Now we have a network and a support system within this project to find money, go buy these cards, and get it to this family as soon as possible. The fact that we can mobilize quicker than we were able to before this pandemic means that we're doing it in the way that makes sense.
Y esto es mucho para nosotros porque cuando vamos en el trabajo no ganamos este dinero, no ganamos la cantidad.
Gracias a las personas que pusieron su granito de arena para ayudar a estas familias para seguir adelante, porque muchos de ellos no tienen trabajo o perdieron trabajo a causa de el COVID-19, y es un momento difícil que están viviendo toda la familia, pero gracias a Elevate Mason County por recaudar este fondo.
We're all going through difficult times. It's a new thing for everyone. I would like to mention 3 of the families that we have helped. The first one was the family whose house got on fire. His parents were like so thankful. And they had a little girl. She held my hand and she said, "Thank you," with a smile. The second family, it's a family that is still struggling, not only because they got affected with coronavirus, but because mom is still suffering from cancer. The third one was this family that was living in their car. They had no money. She had 3 kids and they were running away from a domestic violence situation. This car was a blessing for this family because she was able to be her kid and was able to get gas to be able to make it all the way to Olympia to have shelter. It is important for people to know that this wouldn't be possible without this relief fund project. On behalf of the Shelton community, thank you so much.
Tenía una clienta que después de entregar esa tarjeta al siguiente día me llamó y me dijo, pude comprar comida, pude comprar frutas a mis hijos y estoy tan feliz con esto.
Not all of us can step in all the time, and as long as some of us can step in when we can and where we can and keep going and keep doing that, then we can really create safety in this time of feeling really unsafe for most of us.
No me canso de agradecer, agradezco mucho a todas las personas que ayudaron, que pusieron su granito de arena, que pusieron su corazón y que pensaron en esta comunidad. Y la verdad hay mucha necesidad, muchas familias, especialmente las madres solteras con 3, 4 hijos, que ellos ocupaba tanto esa ayuda. Este es una bendición que llegó en muchas familias.
I want to see this grow. I want to get more people involved. I want to get different kinds of funding. I want to grow our capacity to support more people. Even if it's not the COVID pandemic, the needs are going to be there. Keep building our relationships and keep being friends with each other and make more friends and bring more people to the process so we can support more people deeper.
I want this community to be diverse. I do. Only makes all of us richer. For immigrants specifically, I want to see an embracing and a celebration, an appreciation for the work that people do, for the richness of the tapestry that is added.
Ojalá que apoyen a otras personas, porque, bueno, ahorita sí, gracias a Dios que ya tenemos trabajo, pero algún día no sabemos si maybe viene otra vez o va a pasar otra vez. Ojalá que tengan un corazón que ayuden a más personas, porque hay personas que están más necesitadas. No ahorita o entre más el futuro, pues.
I see flowers blooming even in the middle of a huge pandemic and global crisis, and I see people taking care of each other, and I feel really lucky to be here.
To empower the youth. Way ya, hey ya. Hey ya, hey ya. Way ya, hey ya, hey. Way ya, hey. Way ya, hey. Way ya, hey. Way ya, hey. into our past, recognize our errors, the slavery and terrors, genocide and exploitation of immigrant rights. There's a privilege that's pouring down from the base this country's blocks built on, that shows in the color of my skin. Analyze unedited these benefits inherited from pillaging another's freedom. Can't waste this precious energy feeling guilty, so maybe we're not the ones to blame for our history, but we're the only ones left to take responsibility and tell our children from our deathbeds that we did everything. We wonder how we got here, even where the roots begin, trying to save the world on global scales like heroes on missions, running around with plastic guns and knives, our toddlers and children, and we shield their eyes from sights suggesting human loving. This is not okay, this is not okay, this is not okay, this is not okay, this is not okay. I'm taking